Have you ever had to stop playing a game because it was too scary? Stick around for that and more coming up on the JnB Boiz Podcast. Hello there and welcome to the JnB Boiz Podcast. It's your boy Bubbz and I'm here with
your other boy Jared.
Today's topic of discussion: have you ever had to stop playing a game because it was too scary? But it's going to be a little bit before we get to that.
Yeah, that's right. We got a menagerie of gaming-related topics, news topics, and stories before we get to the main topic of discussion. Without further ado, let's just get into it because the first topic is kind of a big one, and it is the Apple versus Epic Games lawsuit. We didn't talk about this in the last podcast. I, however, did talk about it on the other podcast that I'm a part of, which I would like to briefly give a shout out to because if those of you listening didn't know, I actually co-host another podcast, bi-weekly podcast called the Pipcast 3000, where I join awesome YouTubers Kato Genesis and Bad Company Sarge, and we talk about gaming as well, mostly Fallout and stuff like that, but we also touched a little bit on this debacle between these two companies. If you're not familiar with what is going on at Epic Games, which you may know as being responsible for Fortnite, which is probably the most popular thing that they're known for right now. Epic Games sued Apple because Apple removed Fortnite from iOS and its products because Epic Games essentially tried to sort of circumnavigate how people make purchases. Because right as it stands, like Apple and Apple Store, you make a purchase and Apple gets a certain tax percentage of every purchase. But Epic wasn't cool with that, and they kind of came up with a way to help people circumnavigate that process, and that pissed Apple off, so they removed their product from Apple Store, and Epic responded with a lawsuit. So it's just been this really nasty, ongoing, back and forth battle of attrition between these two, mega companies. Obviously, I think Apple's probably a slightly bit bigger company than Epic, but they're still pretty beefy companies butting heads and throwing accusations and lawsuits and legalities and all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, this has been going on for some time now, and we've got a few different points that all kind of tie in together with what's going on, but it's just kind of an affirmation as to just how insane this whole mess is. Where do we even begin with this? That's the thing.
Apple says Fortnite can come back once Epic Games cleans up its hot mess, which is, well, in my opinion, they're kind of not wrong.
Yeah.
It's just kind of it's a weird thing that's going on here.
The thing, so I have to interject because like when I mentioned before, we touched on the subject in the Pipcast, and when we talked about it then, I was very much like, go Epic Games because they're going after these big company for a monopoly and stuff. But according to, when you're reading this particular article about Apple saying this, and you said it yourself just now, that they're not wrong, and they're not wrong. I mean, that's just That's just the truth of it, and it's just funny because I think Apple knows it as well. Obviously, they know it because they made this statement saying essentially that Epic Games is where they are because of them. They made the choice. It's their own fault that they are where they are.
Epic's problems are entirely self-inflicted, according to Apple.
Exactly, and I think the reason they said that is because I think Epic Games is filing for like a almost like a bailout or financial help. Essentially, Epic is seeking emergency relief because of Apple has taken their product out of their store and it is hurting Epic. Obviously, they're no longer reaping the rewards that came from that partnership. And Apple's essentially
Right.
saying, you know what? It's your own fault. All you have to do is stop doing what you're doing, come back into the fold, and everything will be hunky-dory. I think it's essentially what I'm reading here.
Right. So from what I read, what had happened, so the whole thing that started it was that Epic Games put out a hotfix update for Fortnite, basically under the nose of Apple, but also not at the same time. They sent them an email, never got a response, and they just went ahead and did it anyway. So they put out this hotfix for Fortnite where users who use Fortnite, play Fortnite, they can essentially buy the V-Bucks or whatever they buy on Fortnite. I'm not a Fortnite guy, so they can buy stuff through Fortnite store exclusively instead of going through the operating system platform store like iOS, for example, which was the big one here. So they were able to go and buy the stuff from the store without going through the middleman being Apple, essentially cutting Apple from getting any money off the sales.
Well, essentially, Apple gets like 30% tax on anything bought through the Apple Store as part of the agreement between whoever sells their product through the Apple Store agrees to. You know, and that's honestly that's where I start agreeing with Apple over Epic, because when it comes down to it, Epic agreed to Apple's conditions to put Fortnite on iOS and whatnot. They agreed to it. They signed a contract. It's all written down. From my understanding, Apple's been kind of doing business this way since 2008 or something. So it's not like it's a new policy that they've introduced just to screw over Epic Games or something. Like, this is something that's been an Apple thing for forever now, and Epic agreed with it, went along with it, and now all of a sudden they're like, we don't like it, so we're going to essentially break the terms of agreements with this company, which you just don't do that.
I mean, you hurt yourself, kiddo. You hurt yourself.
Essentially. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. I understand that monopolies suck, and, you know, maybe Epic Games maybe they really do want this sort of like equality for everyone. It doesn't look that way to me anymore, though. It kind of just looks like Epic Games suddenly decided they didn't want to lose out on that money, and they're trying to eliminate Apple from getting it or something. It just, they're doing it in like the wrong way, I think. Maybe they have good intentions, but they're doing it in the wrong way. From a legal standpoint, I'm getting to the point where it feels like Epic Games doesn't really have legs to stand on. Because when it comes down to it, they signed a contract agreement with this company and then blatantly broke it. Well, it's interesting you brought up emails, and there's an entire, the emails are all made public, and you can actually, and we'll leave the link in the description if you're listening to this on YouTube, where you can actually go read these emails. And there was a series of emails exchanged between Epic Games and Apple before Epic Games decided to do their thing, and Apple did respond to them. Essentially, Epic sent them saying, hey, we want to separate and we don't want to have to do that. And Apple responded being like, well, no, you can't do that. That's not how we do things. That would undermine our entire like business profile and everything. Like, it would screw up everything. And then Epic responds with like, oh, well, that sucks. We're going to do it anyways. And then they did it.
Yeah, and the best part about that too was that they had a plan for if Apple retaliated against them the whole time. They had a legal plan, but it's really hard to fight a legal battle when you're not on the legal side.
Right.
In my point of view, Apple's just doing Apple things, okay? I'm not a big fan of Apple. Yeah, I've got an iOS product from like 2010, but I will never buy Apple products. They're too expensive for my taste, and I don't like the operating system personally. It's just I'm an Android guy. But
How dare you? No.
I know it's such blasphemy. But at the same time, even Google Play, which runs through Android, they've got the same terms and stuff like that. And, I mean, they got to go through the same stuff as the people who try to go through iOS to put their stuff on their market have to go through. Epic Games also had Fortnite removed from the Google Play Store as well.
Right.
On top of this whole debacle. But they're going after Apple. They want to have the ability to not have to pay all this, extra stuff that that they're losing out on. Well, that's all part of the contract, bro. Like, you got to do what you got to do. If you don't want to pay for that stuff to have your game be a mobile game, then stick to consoles. Now, some could argue that consoles are following the same guidelines. Well, yeah, they have to. They're a console. You're limited to what you can do. You can't go and buy third-party, or not third-party, but outside Microsoft, like let's use Xbox for an example, or even PlayStation. You can't just go buy games and install them on your console if they're not Microsoft or not through Microsoft's endeavor. This is essentially how Apple is, and same with Google, and same with Switch. The only one that would be different here is PC.
It's pretty much the same with any service that provides, a platform for other services. It's all about money. It's all a business. Whether you're Apple or, like you said, Google Play or whatever, if you're hosting a place for people to put their goods, you're not just doing it out of the goodness of your heart. You're there to make money. So it makes maybe they should be fighting for Google or for Apple to lower the amount of tax for each item instead of just trying to eliminate it completely or whatever. But I mean, you got to imagine that Apple has planned their budget and stuff based on those numbers that exist, and to get rid of them, not only is it unfair to Apple as a company, it's unrealistic. Because their entire business plan is probably that's factored into it. You can't just say, "Oh, that's no longer applicable."
And another thing here too is Apple. This is going into another article, of course. I've kind of just combined the three articles myself and just kind of pulling things from points. But Apple says that Epic is putting the entire App Store model at risk, and I honestly, I agree with them. The way iOS does business and everything with marketing and all that and their apps and everything like that is they run them through the store. If you use Android, you can get third-party apps that aren't on the Google Store and whatnot. It's a lot harder on iOS without having like a jailbroken iPhone. As far as I can remember, it has been years. But everything is run through a secure service through Apple. And so when Epic decided that, hey, come buy this stuff from our Epic store instead of running through Apple, you're breaching security factors. Now, maybe Epic is, I doubt Epic would try to throw some sort of virus out there into the systems of, or the phones that these people are using, but you go find an app anywhere else that isn't like on iOS or on Google, and they've got their own store and stuff like that. They could end up being illegitimate. It could harm your device. It could harm your device. It could harm your accounts through Apple or through Google, whatever you use, and essentially it could destroy what you have in your hand. So I am completely for being on Apple's side with this. There's a reason they do this, and a big part of it is money, but at the same time, they have things set up in a way where you're not going to get viruses from legitimate downloads of applications and programs.
Right. You're not going to download a third-party Fortnite app that some schmuck in his basement programmed together with a virus or something. Because I mean,
right.
with Google Play Store, I mean, you've got anyone can make any app and put it on there, and you can download it, and they don't really regulate it. I think there might be some security measures in place to scan, but I mean,
it's not going to harm you when you download from Google.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
Store.
But there is potential, because even in the Google Store, there's third-party apps that anyone can, that some guy in his basement probably made and submitted it.
Yeah.
But with Apple, you don't get that. That's all like brand approved, Apple approved exclusive apps that they're very meticulous about putting under their store. You can't just be some guy in a basement writing up code for a game that looks good on the outside, but perhaps is, got malicious malware hidden within the code somewhere. You could potentially get that on Google Play because it's not as regulated.
And that's the big thing with having third-party purchases, is you never know where your data is going at that point. At least with Apple, your data is going to Apple.
Right.
If you buy through Epic, your data is going to Epic, yes, but let's say months down the road they decide to kind of alter the business model and start letting these third-party applicators do their own payment purchases and stuff like that. You're going to have a lot of pissed off people with a lot of broken devices if somebody does it wrong.
Part of me wonders why Epic Games doesn't just make their own store. They have their own gaming service like Steam. Nothing stopped them from doing that.
One could say, yeah, why don't they go that route? But they wouldn't make any profit off of it, in all honesty, because you've got the two big monopolies in the phone world of iOS and Google. There's really nowhere for them to go because in order for them to get their app out, they'd have to throw it out as like a third-party APK, which you can get through Google, yes, but iOS, a lot more difficult.
Right.
Unless they started up their own phone service, their own operating system, kind of like how they've got the Epic Games browser, then you could be talking money if people actually cared about that. Most people aren't going to drop their phones and everything they got with their brand loyalty that they have to go over to Epic. Epic has been very shady off and on, in my opinion, over the years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's gotten better, sometimes it's gotten worse. Now with them being this way bigger company than I remember from back in the day, with Gears of War.
Yeah, well, I think
you never know what's going to happen.
Fortnite made them a heavy hitter. I mean, I'm not a fan of Fortnite. I don't think you are either, if I remember correctly.
No, I can't stand it personally.
But it's huge. It's so huge. Like, it's a lot bigger than people think. People see it as this game where kids learn to dance like idiots, but it's a freaking huge franchise at this point. Like, I went to PAX one year and there was an entire building dedicated to Fortnite with a line that stretched around it for one game, Fortnite. And that was a couple years ago. By now it's probably even bigger. So it doesn't surprise me that Epic is bigger than you remember it, because Fortnite's bigger than Gears of War ever was. Whether you like it or not, it's way bigger and more popular and more accessible. The thing with Gears of War, it's a very mature game. It's very violent, very gory. Fortnite, everyone of every age can play it, and it's fine. So, it's a huge deal.
That, and also the free-to-play model that they have for it as well. It's really crazy that your huge grossing revenue maker is a free-to-play game.
Yep.
People are spending money in those stores.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think that Epic had the idea of, let's just have it go through us instead of a middleman. There's greed no matter where you look, whether it be on Apple's side or on Epic's side. There's greed.
And I think that's what it comes down to, honestly. I think Epic is seeing themselves missing out on 30% extra profit that's going to Apple, and they want it. That's what I'm seeing now.
Scheme of things. Yeah, it's crazy that multi-millions of dollars every year that they're making, and they're worried about a 30% more increase. Like, you have your product on pretty much every single platform. Hell, even Nintendo Switch has it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy considering it's the Switch. Don't get me wrong, I love the Switch, but it's crazy. And they're over here making problems for themselves over 30%.
Yeah.
Of little little tiny bits of money that people are using to buy whatever they're buying on Fortnite. Like, I don't get it. I mean, I do get it, but I don't get it. Like, if it was me, I would have left well enough alone right there at that point. Like, yeah, hey, I messed up. I'll go back to what we're doing. You know, this is, I mean, it's fine. You know, it'll work. Now, unless they've got a bigger picture behind their heads that they're not really leading onto, they just look greedy at this point.
Which is possible. I would love to believe that they're doing it for everybody. You know, I think they've been quoted saying that they want this thing with Apple to essentially be for everyone. It almost sounds like they're trying to be the knight in shining armor for the the mobile gaming industry or whatever. Like they don't want this just to be for them. They want everyone to be included in that. But I would love to believe that that's true, but I'm just have a hard time believing that a huge company has got the well-being of others in mind, not just itself.
Right.
Maybe it's true. Maybe that is what they're doing. You know, Epic's been around for a long time. I mean, they're obviously they're known for Gears of War and now Fortnite, but before all that, they were doing like the Unreal Tournament games.
Well, with them, like, if it is true that they're trying to possibly be the knight in shining armor and try to free all these developers from the confines of Apple and their 30% or whatever, it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't have done it sooner. Apple's App Store model that they have has been around for a while with, frequent updates here and there. Honestly, if people were so opposed to it the way Epic is, to me, making it seem, why don't they just take their business elsewhere?
Right.
Like, a lot of people aren't as upset with Apple as Epic is right now.
Right.
And have never been. I mean,
right.
You make a lot of if you got a decent app that brings in ad revenue and everything else like that, in-app purchases through Apple, what the hell is 30% to you? You're still making more money as a company than the average Joe working on his Malwarebytes basement project.
Right. No,
so I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I that's what makes me just think that it has to be just greed. They're just getting greedy. But again, like what we were talking about when we first brought up this subject, I think it's going to come down to, like, Apple doesn't have to defend their 30% tax. They don't have to defend whether or not they have a monopoly or not. Epic already broke the agreement. They're already in the wrong. Therefore, nothing they say really holds any water at this point. All Apple has to do is sit back and say, look, they signed, they broke the agreement, they're wrong. If anything, right. It would not, I don't think Apple would do it, but I feel like Apple could probably turn the tables on Epic and sue Epic for falsely suing them or whatever. Or for right. or countersue them for breaking their own agreement or whatever. I mean, Epic, the more and more I read about this whole thing, Epic is just not in a great place. I think they want to be, and maybe they think they are. But, unfortunately, when it comes to legalities, the moral high ground doesn't mean a damn thing.
You signed up for a legally binding contract to provide a service until you decide you didn't want to provide that service anymore. You can't just go and alter your end of the contract without repercussions.
Right. And I think that they're going to learn that if they haven't already. It sounds like Epic's hurting because Apple pulled everything, but again, it's their own fault.
Well, they might have to go back to pre-Apple days and just deal with the consoles. They were making money off of that.
Yeah.
Don't need to go to mobile platform to do everything. That's a big thing these days. Is everybody's trying to get their stuff out on mobile for people on the go and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get over that thing. Like, honestly, like I hate mobile variations of games that are like on consoles and stuff like that. And even with the best phone, it's like if I want to play this, I'm just gonna go home, sit on my console or on my PC or whatever, and play it. Now, if people who don't have that, I mean, I guess that's great. Yeah, I got an option, but like, it's just, to me personally, it's not the. It's I hate mobile games. That's it. I hate mobile games.
Fair enough.
So on maybe them being taken off the markets here, maybe they could focus on improving the games more on the limited console and PC space that they have, rather than just trying to become a monopoly of a game, trying to be everywhere for everybody, shoving themselves down everybody's throats. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the future of Epic Games is shrouded in mystery at this moment. We don't really know. It'll be interesting.
I'll tell you what it isn't, though. It's definitely not Epic right now.
No, it is not Epic. Which is funny because in closing this particular topic, I have read here this final bit about Epic hosting essentially an anti-Apple free Fortnite tournament, which to me, it seems so juvenile. Like, if you're trying to take the moral high ground and you're trying to, set free the confines of Apple's malicious monopoly on taxation of mobile gaming, but then you're going to turn around and have a little diss at Apple with all this stuff. It just seems childish.
Right.
The more it's proof again, the more and more I hear about this, that Epic Games is just throwing a temper tantrum because Apple didn't want to play ball with them. So they've invented a new game, and they've invited everyone but Apple. Be like, that's what we think of that. If you don't want to give us a break, then we're not going to play with you anymore, and this is how we're going to do it. And Apple's just sitting there like, we don't give a crap. We don't need you. We got a lot more going for us other than you, before you and after you.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Epic actually thinks Apple really cares. Because, they don't.
Yeah, I mean, as big as Fortnite is, Apple, I keep wanting to say Google, as big as Fortnite is, Apple didn't need them before Fortnite, and they won't need them long after Fortnite's gone.
Right.
So
Epic is definitely not breaking the bank for Apple, but Apple is breaking the bank for Apple.
Yeah, exactly. Epic just needs to admit that they were wrong. Mend things back up with Apple and just get back to business. Simple as that. I think Apple's right when they've actually said that in the first topic we talked about, was that Fortnite can come back once they clean up their deal. That's all they have to do. Just stop being greedy assholes. Just play ball and get your game back where you need it, and everyone's happy. Because in the meantime, during all this, everyone who was playing on those mobile apps doesn't get to anymore. Like, there's new content coming out for Fortnite, I believe, and they're going to miss out because of this. That's not Apple's fault. That's Epic's fault.
Yep.
When it comes down to it.
Epic's solution was, well, sounds like you better jump on a new platform. Oh, thanks, Epic. I really appreciate that. Thanks for looking out for me.
They literally said that too. They want people to consider other platforms. Like you said, not everyone has other platforms. For some people, their Apple phone is all they've got. They can't afford to go buy a Xbox or PlayStation or a Switch or whatever. Like, all they could afford was their phone, and that's what they've got. And now they don't get to play their favorite game. Epic's trying to make Apple look like the bad guy, but honestly, the real bad guy is Epic. Just gonna say it. Just gonna throw it out there.
If they hadn't bought the Apple phone and bought a Samsung or just a low level Android, they probably could have afforded the console to play.
Yeah.
Because Apple's not cheap.
No. But even still, I mean, if that's what you've got, and then suddenly it's gone because of this. I mean, I would, if I was a consumer that whether I owned an Apple phone or a Samsung phone or whatever, if I was playing Fortnite on my mobile device and that's what I had, and then I hear about this, I don't think that I would be pissed at Apple. I would be really pissed at Epic for poking the bear or something. Like I'm all for rooting for the underdog or the little guy. But this situation just doesn't feel
littler. It's just a matter of which one's littler at this point. They're both huge.
Well, yeah, you're right. So far, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, if it goes any further. I think Epic is planning on, because I think they said it's going to be a hard battle. I don't think it's going to be a hard battle. I think it's going to be Apple wins because, for obvious reasons. So it'll still be interesting to see what comes out of this whole situation. You know what else was interesting to see show up recently?
What you got?
A new Batman game.
What?
I'm assuming it's the same developers. If you've played like Arkham Knight and the Batman games that have been around recently that have been phenomenal, honestly, they've reinvented sort of that genre. There's a new one called Gotham Knights was announced. I don't know if you watched the video. I did. And
I didn't get to, but I did read the article.
That's fine. Yeah, it sounds like we're going to be getting to play as like Batwoman and Robin, and it sounds like Batman might be dead or something. At least that's what I've read. But it also is going to be a co-op game, so you're going to get to play with your friend. I think it's like I think it's 2-player co-op. I don't think there's any more than that. But watching the video, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they pan this new style of Batman game. I mean, like, all the Batman games that have been out, they've been really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of Batman, personally. As a kid, I'm not saying I don't like him. I just, I'll take Iron Man over anybody any day. That's just me all day. But I mean, the games have been really phenomenal. It's when they started going outside of the boundaries of the actual games and what's a really bad example that I can think of? Gotham City Imposters.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
It was old. It was on Xbox 360 years ago, and they gave it out for free, and nobody played it anymore last time I played it.
Wow.
But you played as one of the criminals or whatever, and you were an imposter of a villain or a superhero or whatever. It's basically just let's go around and shoot each other, and yeah. But there's been stuff bad like that. But this looks promising from what I've read. You're delving into a multiple people story or multiple person story. With Nightwing and Robin and Batgirl and Red Hood being the fourth guy there. So I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to say the least. A Batman game without Batman, like an actual Batman game without Batman in it.
Yeah, and it's still so early. As far as I know, they've only just been announced with the trailer, teaser, and everything. So. Will Batman be in it? I don't know. Maybe he'll show up, but it does sound like that they're intending, like you said, a Batman game without Batman in it, which isn't a bad thing. There's so many more characters in, DC and Batman that isn't Batman.
Right.
And there's a lot of really cool and interesting characters. So it'll be interesting to see the story from their perspective for a change. If you haven't watched the video, Bubbz, or the listener, there will be a link for it. I say go and watch it if you're interested, or if you're a fan of the other Batman games. It looks pretty cool. There's some Mr. Freeze action going on and stuff. It's pretty early footage, like alpha footage, so it doesn't look like super polished, so set your expectations. But yeah, it's about time we've got a new Batman game, and this one looks like it's going to be changing things up a bit, which is not a bad thing, because after 3 games of fairly the same thing, as good as they were, I think maybe it's time for a fresh take. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't suck.
It'll be really cool for a new game like that. You know what other new game would be really cool, though?
Tell me.
Elder Scrolls 6, if it was actually going to happen anytime soon.
No!
So, Bethesda has provided everybody in the gaming world with a disappointing update on Test 6. It was revealed back in 2018. They had a little bit of a demo footage or whatever of it. And,
it wasn't even demo footage. It was literally just like a landscape and then the title, and that was it.
That's some good demo footage.
Yeah. And they didn't even tell us where it was. It was just like, hey, look at this random mysterious place. Hope you can guess what it is, because we're not going to tell you.
I always thought maybe we were going to be the Argonians. I figured it was time for that.
I think the popular opinion was that it's going to either be High Rock or Hammerfell, which is like the I believe the Red Guards is Hammerfell, and High Rock would be like the Bretons, if I'm getting my lore correct. I could be wrong. I don't care where. I just want to know. I want to play it. Tell me more, Bubbz.
So the game was revealed in 2018 with that little landscape demo, and the Elder Scrolls 6 put up out there on the screens and whatever, and it really lit up the hearts of many. And now 2 years later, we are slowly killing that heartbeat with more information that the game is nowhere close to even being done, and that we won't see it for a very long time. It is in development, according to Bethesda, and one can only assume at this point that it's going to be for the next or the future gen consoles, I guess. Because you can't really say next gen anymore, because this gen was next gen or advanced.
We're
gen.
living next gen.
But it's definitely presumed for the PS5, Xbox Series X, and of course PC Master Race. Other than that, there's really no details on the actual game. They did come around and say that they were working on another game called Starfield, which they also said was expected to arrive before Test 6. But I don't know if they've started working on that recently or before Test 6. But, it's kind of messed up to hear about a really good game that a lot of people enjoy. It's not happening yet, but we got this other cool game we're working on. It's like, okay, so why though? So, 2 years after the reveal, we are anywhere closer to seeing the next installment of the Elder Scrolls. But make sure to be on the lookout for Starfield, which is another one of their RPGs, and they have it slated for 2021 or 22. 2021 or 2022.
Fingers crossed.
Said. Of course, but Elder Scrolls 6. 2030, that's when it's going to happen more than likely.
But we could probably look forward between now and Elder Scrolls 6 at least 3 or 4 more new releases of Skyrim.
That is very fair, actually. The super mega edition. I don't know what the hell else they're gonna throw in there, but definitely looking forward to it. I buy Skyrim every single time it comes out on a new console. It's the Rocket League. I buy it. Because
honestly, if they remastered it for PlayStation 5 or something like that, I probably would too. Honestly, I mean, Skyrim is just a great game, and if it was somehow easier for them to somehow remaster Skyrim with, would you call it future gen console?
Future gen.
If they were able to somehow if it was somehow easier to remaster, Skyrim to future gen graphics and all that stuff, it would probably be pretty freaking awesome. It'd probably be finally on par with modded Skyrim for the PC. But yeah, this news does not surprise me in the least, because I think we already kind of knew that it was still a ways off. I think everyone knew that Starfield would be coming out first. It's just one of those things to actually hear it from the mouth of those that know, from the horse's mouth or whatever. it's a little disheartening to get that confirmation. It's like everyone wants Elder Scrolls 6 now. It's just not going to happen.
Right. People's expectations are set way too high these days, especially with games coming out and stuff like that. It's bad enough most games we get are trash anymore these days. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I mean, I'll play Fallout 76, but I definitely don't think it's my first choice for a Fallout game. Like, it's just one of those things. You get businesses trying different models, and the thing is, Bethesda did the Elder Scrolls Online, and it's a huge hit.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Everything. The little bit I've played, I've enjoyed it. I haven't played it all that much. I'm not a big MMO type of guy. Like, I'll play a couple of them here and there, but I don't grind my whole life away on them. But Fallout 76, nah, it was incomplete from the start, and even with all the updates, it's still, like, honestly, I hate to say this because I'm a big fan of Bethesda, but I'd rather play updated current No Man's Sky than play Fallout 76 ever again.
I guess it's fair. They're completely different games, so it's hard for me to compare them.
Same mindset of, hey, we have literally no content in our game. Let's wait a year before we update it.
Right.
Or, somewhat in there. I don't know if that's completely true, but I mean, Hello Games did the thing with No Man's Sky, and the game was fun in the beginning. I didn't have any expectations for the game.
Oh, I did.
Exploration and stuff like that. But what were your expectations for it?
For No Man's Sky?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just remember that they were really high because the game was super hyped for a long, long time. They were very closed-mouthed about a lot of it, only releasing little tidbits here and there, so everyone kind of had to use their imagination as to what it was going to be, and it grew the hype to such unrealistic expectations that when the game finally did come out, there was no way in hell that game would have met the expectations that were being put upon it by just people's imaginations. And honestly, I'm kind of worried that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to receive the same fare. It's taking them so long, and everyone wants it so bad that they're coming up with hypothesis after hypothesis and coming up with different ideas and setting expectations for themselves. I am so worried that when Elder Scrolls 6 finally does come out, it's going to have the No Man's Sky effect, and it's not going to come anywhere close to meeting the overzealous and over-exaggerated expectations of its fans. And to no fault of the game itself, it'll fail because of that. I worry. That is probably the thing that I worry about the most about the Elder Scrolls series in general. I don't want to see that happen. I hope that it's going to take a while because that they are making the best game that has ever existed, and it's scary and sad to say that it's going to have to be, or I don't know what'll happen. It'll be like No Man's Sky, it'll come out, it'll be amazing, but there's no way it'll meet those expectations, and then. Yeah, it just makes me concerned about the future of Elder Scrolls beyond Elder Scrolls 6 at that point.
Right. I mean, I'll give credit to both Bethesda and Hello Games. They really got their stuff together and added the content into the game and stuff like that, and now are constantly updating the games. But I mean, still, you put that first little taste of disappointment into somebody's mouth, and a lot of them aren't sold on it anymore. And that's my big fear as well. The same as yours, is the overzealous hype of a game that's not even close to being done yet. I mean, how long has it been since Elder Scrolls 5? I mean, it was like, what? Wasn't that like between 2009 and 2011, wasn't it?
Skyrim was released in 2011.
Okay. So Skyrim came out in 2011. It's been 9 years.
That's crazy.
That's a long time to go between games. But to be fair, they have also put out in this time another Fallout. They had 2 Fallout games that came out. They were roughly around the same times. I know they had they had Fallout 3, and which I think was 2009 or 2010. Fallout New Vegas, which was like 2010 or 11, and then they had Skyrim and whatnot. And then, they did the ESO thing. They had Fallout 4. They had all the DLCs for all of those. The remastered Skyrim, and then they had the Fallout 76 or whatever. So it's like they've been keeping busy, but it's like between main franchise installments, it's been a long time. And because Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 are way closer together in terms of a gap than these two are.
And you can't. I would argue to say that Elder Scrolls Online is technically not a Bethesda Softworks game. It's a ZeniMax Studios game, which is under Bethesda. So you almost can't even count Elder Scrolls Online as a main franchise, even though it's Elder Scrolls.
Right, that's fair though.
Yeah,
I mean, MMOs usually don't count.
I mean, I think it still counts. I just think that because of different studios handling it, I don't necessarily categorize it under, like you said, the main franchises like Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Even New Vegas was Obsidian.
Yeah, they were Obsidian Interactive, which, by the way, makes really good RPGs. If you haven't played The Outer Worlds, go play it.
I haven't.
It's a really good game.
I know. I plan on playing it now that I have that Game Pass.
And speaking of new games as well, not to drop off topic of Elder Scrolls 6, if I had one, but we got a new Call of Duty coming around again.
Say it's not so.
Holy shoot. Yeah, so there's a new Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which I can only assume is going to be centered around the Cold War.
What? A game called the Cold War centered around the Cold War?
You know what?
Yeah, I do.
And you know what happens when you see crazy things?
When I see what?
Right in Ohio.
God damn it.
But yeah, so they've got that. They've teased it.
Yeah, it's just art. It's just teaser art. It's not even a trailer or anything. It's just literally like a tweet and art.
But they have had stuff in Warzone. If anybody plays Warzone, I know I do quite frequently, actually.
Oh.
Not a big fan of Battle Royale, but that one is actually like I've come to the point where I only want to play Warzone when I play Call of Duty now. Like, I don't even want to play regular multiplayer. It's boring to me and it's not fun. It's too close quarters. I've actually learned to love the huge map and being stealthy and not getting found and all that. But there has been little Easter eggs popping up around everywhere, such as a nuke in one of the bunkers that you can get into to find loot in Verdansk. And there's a couple of others as well, but that's one of the big ones there. So
that's kind of cool.
Cold War. If you get into the bunker.
Well, yeah, but it's cool that they are kind of throwing in those type of Easter eggs. I like it when developers will do that.
It kind of makes me wonder with the new Call of Duty Cold War, what they're gonna do with Warzone though. Like, are they gonna keep Warzone going, or is Cold War gonna have its own Warzone, or something similar? Because I mean, Warzone is a huge growing battle royale. I mean, it's grown huge to over 75. I think it was 75 million players in just 6 to 8 months, or however long it's been out. It hasn't been out that long, but it's grown substantially. I'm wondering what they're gonna do with it, or how they're gonna implement it into Cold War. But they've started, like I said, doing the Easter eggs and stuff like that, which it's nice that they haven't forgotten about their game,
right?
With coming out like some developers do.
I think that they would be foolish to not include a battle royale Warzone in all their games from this point on. Honestly, as successful as Warzone has been, I think they would be extremely foolish. It's essentially Warzone's the new Call of Duty Zombies. Back when Call of Duty Zombies was first introduced, it was such a hit that they included it in every game since then, except the current one, obviously, which they introduced, Warzone. And I think Warzone is probably going to be replacing Zombies. Maybe not completely, but it's the new Zombies. Like, they're probably going to have Warzone in every Call of Duty game from now on, just based on the success of Warzone in of itself.
It also depends on who's developing the game, because Call of Duty runs through two developers, or at least they used to. They have Infinity Ward and Treyarch.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe it was Treyarch who did the Zombies, and Infinity War. They didn't have anything to do with that, or Infinity Ward. Excuse me. But yeah, Treyarch, like, because you didn't start seeing Zombies until World at War, which was made by Treyarch, or made or whatever, and then like you went to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, they were done by Infinity Ward, and there weren't zombies in that, but all the Black Ops titles had some sort of zombies in it, and so this new Call of Duty, I do believe, is Infinity Ward. There is no zombies in that, so that kind of has me hopeful that maybe this Black Ops is being made by Treyarch, and there will be a zombies as well. Yeah,
I think you're right. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I didn't even think of that. I forgot that it was two different companies. I forgot they had their little split or whatever.
Yeah, because Black Ops, the Black Ops series is kind of like they're delving back into the past. Well, minus Call of Duty World War II or whatever the hell that was that happened that I heard about.
I liked World War II.
What was it good? I never played it. It looked ugly to me. Like it was just a rehash of the old 4 Call of Duty games.
Well, I mean, there's only so much I think you can do with a World War II shooter anymore. It's been done so often. I enjoy World War II as a time, as from a historical standpoint. So I'm always down to play a World War II Call of Duty.
Right.
World War II Call of Duty was. It wasn't super amazing, but it wasn't horrible, I thought. But I'm not really the one to ask. I used to play Call of Duty back in the day, and then I kind of stopped, and I've only just started playing again with Warzone with you occasionally. But I did like the first Black Ops though, because it was very Cold War time period almost. And I think that the Cold War is hugely underrated in like the gaming world. Like you don't get that much during the Cold War. It's always World War II or whatever, or now modern or whatever. But the Cold War is kind of a untapped period of history that I think could be interesting. Because there's a lot of...
Give me the numbers, Mason.
Exactly. Give me the numbers, Mason. Very, very CIA, NSA, espionage, because the Cold War was about a war between, the US and Russia that didn't involve shooting each other, really. There might have been some situations where that was not the case, but for the most part, it was a war of words and espionage and spies and that sort of stuff fascinates me. So I'm actually looking forward to this. And if they add a Warzone or zombies or both or none or whatever, who knows? Time will tell.
After this last Call of Duty that they just made, I can say that I'm hyped for the next Modern Warfare that will come out after this one. But I'm definitely excited to see where this one is going to go. I probably will pick it up just because, like, time has changed over the years, and these games they're getting more back to the roots that they used to have with the dynamic stories and the beautiful visuals and the seamless multiplayer. Minus all the hackers and the cheaters and all the people using aimbots and all that other good stuff because people just can't play games anymore. Yeah. So I definitely look forward to it, and I think I'll pick it up as well.
Well, I think that pretty much sums up our news topics. What say we mosey on over to the main topic of discussion that you mentioned at the start?
Have you ever had to stop playing a game because it was too scary? Tell me, Jared, have you?
Have I ever? It's really funny because on my main channel, Jarred Gaming, I play horror games. That's like my main thing. But before doing that, before I started my channel, I did not play horror games because I'm a big chicken and I have an overactive imagination, and I just don't play horror games very well because they're scary. Go figure.
Right. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
I suppose. I mean, I can definitely say at this point, after playing horror games a lot for over 2 years now of the channel, like they do not scare me as much as they used to. I'm definitely desensitized to it. That definitely happens. But if I have, thinking back before that, one thing does stand out in my mind that I literally had to stop playing. I had to stop. It was so scary. And you can't even really call it a game. And you maybe those listening, maybe you already know what I'm going to say, but it was PT. The never to be finished or realized Konami before Hideo Kojima left, possibly a new Silent Hill title, PT playable trailer or playable teaser was made available on the PlayStation. At the time, I had no idea what it was. I had never heard of it. I only downloaded it because the description was intriguing. I can't remember what it was, but it was very mysterious, and it was just curiosity. I didn't even know it was a game when I downloaded it because there was nothing to go on about it. There's no pictures. There was no teaser trailer of the teaser or anything like that. It was just PT, a background picture of it was like a forest or something, and a weird description or whatever. And that, in my opinion, PT set the bar for horror. Even though it's not even a game, it's literally a prototype of something that was never to be. But I think I played it. I played it for 10 minutes, and I had to stop. And I told my brother, you should play this game, because he liked scary games. He was big into Amnesia and stuff. But yeah, it's one of the few, if perhaps the only horror game that I ever had to actually stop playing, because I was just, I literally at one point I paused it, I put the controller down, and I was just like, nope, I'm done. Nope, I cannot play this game. And yeah, it's literally the game that I kind of compare a lot of other games to. What about you?
Okay. Well, before I talk about mine, PT, I heard about that. I didn't have PlayStation at the time. That one was essentially pre-Death Stranding. That was the game that was supposed to have Norman Reedus in it, wasn't it?
I think there was rumored in talks that the quote-unquote Silent Hill title that was supposedly being worked on was supposed to have Norman Reedus in it. I don't think there was ever any I don't think he was ever in the rendered in the game, or any artwork or any concept. I don't think it made it that far, but I do, if I remember correctly, there was rumors that he was supposed to be in it.
Okay.
So essentially, yeah, it was essentially a pre-Death Stranding. I think when Hideo Kojima left, Norman Reedus went with him, essentially.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, no, big fan of Norman Reedus. I think I talked about that last podcast as well. But yeah, no. So whenever I see that there's a game with Norman Reedus, I don't care what it is. Normally, I'm all over it. Like the Walking Dead Survival Instinct game they made, yeah, I was all over that. And then Death Stranding, kind of all over it, but not really. I bought it, but I haven't really played it all that much.
I haven't played it either, honestly. I want to, but there's just so many other games that I haven't gotten around to it.
I feel that. speaking of games, yeah, I guess it's my turn then. So, with the topic being, have you ever had to stop playing a game because it was too scary? In my adult life, I would say kinda. In my child life, I would say yes. So I'll go ahead and throw in the first part, I guess. The last horror game that I actually played, like all the way through, was Resident Evil 2. It was kind of freaky or whatever because it was a remaster, like it was a reimagined Resident Evil 2. But I enjoyed it very, very thoroughly. It took me probably a week and a half to actually get through just one of the campaigns, which I played as Leon. And it's like just the jump scares are kind of there, you know, things are a lot different from the old era of those games. But that's not the game that did it in for me as an adult. The game that did it in for me as an adult was the last horror game that I played before Resident Evil 2, which was years ago, Outlast.
Ooh.
Yeah, so if you don't know what Outlast is, which I'm pretty sure most people listening to our podcast might have an idea, especially, you know, if you watch Jarred's channel, he plays a lot of horror games. This is just another horror game. You haven't played this one though.
I have not played any of the Outlast games. Not because I didn't want to, but because I've watched other YouTubers play it, and I tend to play games that I don't know anything about for the most authentic reactions and stuff like that. So I've not played those because I've seen them and I kind of already know what to expect. I'm sure it would still be a really scary experience, but I tend to play and stick to stuff that I don't know anything about yet.
Right. I feel that and I get that. So for those of you who don't know what Outlast is, here's a brief explanation. You play as a guy who goes to an insane asylum. All you have is a camera, a little camcorder. It's got like night vision on it and stuff like that. I don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, no. So you get trapped in that asylum, and you have to basically find out what's happening there and find your way out and all that. That game scared me. Like I used to live stream that game for my buddies that I play on Xbox with, because they just loved to see my reaction of being scared, hiding in a closet or under a bed or something like that. You have no way to fight. Literally all you can do is run and hope to God you find a battery to stick in your camcorder because your lights are low and it's getting dark. That was a quote, by the way.
And
from the
camcorder. The camcorder night vision is the only way you can see, isn't it?
Yeah, when it's dark and there's
like
no
you
lights.
don't
Yeah,
you don't have a flashlight.
Camcorder. Like you don't have to use the camera at all times, but like it definitely adds to the story. Like you're actually recording the messed up stuff that's happening.
Right.
But when it's dark and you can't see, these other things can see you. So you might not be able to see them without your camcorder, but they can see you. And that's a scary feeling, not knowing where you are with a dead camera being dragged under the bed. So I almost got through the entire game. I had taken a break from it. I made it probably about 75% of the way through it. And I left off, I saved my game, hiding in a closet in the dark with no battery. And so when I came back to the game about a year later, yeah, I'll just play this again. That was a dumb mistake because I couldn't see anything and I had forgotten what had happened from all that time ago. I was like, nah, this isn't happening because Homeboy actually found me in the closet without me moving around. And I think that may have been why I saved the game where I did, because there was really no escape for me without actually trying to find a way out. So yeah, that's kind of a scarring game for me as an adult. I mean, it's not too bad though. Like, it's just, you know, one of those things. But the one that really got me was the original. I wouldn't say the original, but the GameCube remaster remake of Resident Evil. I was, I think, 9 or 10 years old at the time. My dad had rented that game for me from Blockbuster Video. Yes, that long ago. Most y'all might remember what Blockbuster is, but the younger generation these days probably won't know what it is because it's been phased out. But he rented that game for me because I wanted the game, because I wanted to basically, yeah, I ain't scared of nothing, you know, as a kid or whatever. I put that game in the disc. I played about 10 minutes of it. I started crying. You see a crimson head, which is basically one of the zombies that runs in the game, laying down on the ground. Basically, do like a backwards somersault or frontward somersault. They flip in the air and stand up. At least that's what I saw. Maybe my imagination's overreactive a bit. But yeah, no, that scars you as a child to have something like that running at you. So yeah, no, I cried my brains out, and I had my dad take the game back to Blockbuster essentially that same day. He was not exactly happy with me, but he understood that I wasn't going to play it. So he would only let me rent rated T games or E games anymore after that until I grew up a little more. But yeah, so yeah, that's my scary story to tell in the dark.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think that I've ever played anything so scary that I cried. Like, I don't remember playing scary games when I was like young. And I think it's probably because I knew that I was a big chicken. I've certainly
had a point to prove.
No, fair enough. I can understand that. I mean, I've certainly played other games that were scary. I mean, like Silent Hill, just to name a franchise, which makes sense considering that PT was the one that I actually had to stop playing, and it was supposed to be a Silent Hill title. But I remember being a kid and playing Silent Hill, the first one, and you play it now, and it's dated. It's dated. It did not age well. It's just so creepy, and that was, I think it was the original Silent Hill that probably got me to the point where I realized that I don't do horror games. Because I don't think I ever finished the first Silent Hill, and I never played any of the others. I only ever watched my brother play them because he never had issues with scary games. He enjoyed them, so I was just perfectly satisfied watching my brother play them, because I just couldn't. There's something about being the one playing the scary game or watching it. Like, if you're the one playing it, it's completely different. It's completely different.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of horror games as a genre. I think the horror genre is one of the few genres that are capable of eliciting that type of an emotional response. And I think that is a hallmark of a genuinely brilliant piece of art, in a weird way. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think indie games is the future of gaming. I think mainline titles are just tearing themselves apart with corporate greed, big business greed, like we've talked about with Apple and with Epic. You don't get that with indie games.
We need a little more indie in our lives.
We need a little bit more indie in our lives. You are correct, sir.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so very much for listening to our podcast, and I hope you look forward to our next installment. Take care. This has been the JnB Boiz.